right, just kicking things off here. There is so much to get to. Yeah, it's the offseason, but it's all good. We got a little Aaron Rodgers. Ian Rappaport's going to be joining us in just a bit to give us some of the details around the Steelers' new quarterback. Not to mention, we're going to have some fun today, especially when it comes to my cooking skills with David in the saddle here. I just want to let you know, David, no one boils water better than me, so I will start off things.
Hey.
And that's kind of where it ends. But it's awesome to have you here. You didn't bring food, though.
Unfortunately, no. You guys wake up very early today.
Yeah. Top of the morning to you, man. I'm glad that you're here. Glad that you're here.
It should be a good one. Hey, Kyle, just because you are the OG on this show, any advice for breaking into rookies?
Yeah, listen, just Isaiah's going to talk nonstop about the Cowboys. Just tune that out. Tune that out. There's going to be Cowboys here and Cowboys there. So just do you, be yourself. I'm so sorry we offended our guests today. We have like the worst craft services. It's dry cereal and granola bars. I hope you found something palatable to put in there.
By the way, I was thinking about that when I was devouring my eggs this morning. I was like, David must have some real issues going to any restaurant. But nonetheless, he is caffeinated, ready to rock and roll. But there is some news around the league that we need to go and get the full details on. No one better to discuss this than one of our insiders. Ian Rappaport is with us. Ian, always good to have you, bud. All right, finally a done deal in the Steel City. Give me the details on Aaron Rodgers, who all of a sudden is Mike Tomlin's new QB1.
Oh, he sure is. Finally, for the first time in months, we can stop wondering who is going to be the Steelers quarterback over this weekend. We got an answer. It is firm, final, and official. Aaron Rodgers passed his physical in Pittsburgh, has, in fact, signed his contract. That is the picture of him right there signing his contract. So no more questions about will he or won't he. He now has, Aaron Rodgers, these incentives. So that's the deal. It is an accomplished quarterback. It is a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback who's healthier than he's been in the last 2 years at a very, very low price. Kind of trying to follow in the footsteps of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and John Elway, guys who took low salaries late in their career to try to go finally win the big one. We will see if Rodgers and the Steelers follow suit.
Yeah, Ian, you look at the last couple seasons, the last 2 seasons, $10 million for Aaron Rodgers. We know Russell Wilson was on a very friendly deal. Justin Fields, they seem to be able to fill in that quarterback spot at some good value in terms of price. More details and some more news from you, Ian, coming up in just a bit. But I do start thinking to myself, it was a ladies-only edition of Good Morning Football last week. Kyle got some much-deserved time down. But Kyle, you know, when the Aaron Rodgers news sort of hits, you start to think to yourself, like, what's Kyle Brandt doing? Like, you probably were so jacked up for today. First bite of the apple, man. What do you make of the move that we candidly, like, speculated was going to happen for a while?
Well, thank you for the question, and I did enjoy the shows last week very much. At the end of the week, I was watching at home. The Rodgers news landed oddly for a couple different reasons. One, if you were paying attention online, the Rodgers news broke as maybe the 2 most powerful people in the world were having a slap fight online, and the Rodgers thing was this aside to it. But second, also, I wasn't surprised. I don't think anyone was surprised. No one was wondering. We all knew this was going to happen eventually. It was never going to be viable to go at the end of the year. Different. Remember, Steelers fans basically have a trust fund if you grew up a Steelers fan. You were a rich Nepo baby of a sports fan. You've had it great. Jets fans are standing around a barrel fire with fingerless gloves trying to stay warm. It's a totally different thing. So the Steelers fans expect, they're not impressed with Rodgers like the Jets fans were. They won't be impressed if you merely get to the playoffs like the Jets fans would have been. I put it this way. 9-8 without a wild card win for the Steelers is just the same as 5-12 for the Jets. It's nothing. Nothing. You have to win in the playoffs or it's totally forgotten. Mason Rudolph could have gotten the Steelers to the playoffs. So Aaron Rodgers is this first ballot Hall of Fame messiah. That's only half true. This will be all about one day in January of 2026 and whether Rodgers finally delivers a playoff win. If he doesn't, then it's completely pointless and anybody could have done this for Pittsburgh.
You're absolutely correct, Kyle. That's the thing. That's the reason why they brought him here. They brought him to Pittsburgh to win in the playoffs. Mike Tomlin's never had an issue going to the playoffs. We know that. That's been highly spoken about. But you brought up Mason Rudolph. Let's talk about Mason Rudolph and some of the other guys that Mike Tomlin has had at the quarterback position. He's had Mitch Trubisky. He's had Mason Rudolph. He had Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Now he had Kenny Pickett. He had Kenny Pickett in there. None of those guys are even remotely Aaron Rodgers. Maybe we could talk about, Russell Wilson back in the day, but Russell Wilson of today and what he had last year is not of the stature of Aaron Rodgers. This guy can still play. And I know whenever we talk about 28 touchdowns, 11 turnovers, but let's not forget about the fact that this dude came off of an Achilles tear, and he still found a way at the age of 40 years old to come out there and take care of business. Let's talk about the fact that this dude went out there and put up more touchdowns than majority of the rest of the NFL quarterbacks in this league. I think he was the 6th best quarterback overall in terms of statistics, in terms of touchdowns. So this is somebody who's coming in, not only who is legendary, not only somebody who is an absolute beast at the position, but somebody who can still sling the rock. And now you put him on a team that has a solid offensive line. Now you put him on a team that has a solid defense, a team that has always had an established running game, and now he has a DK Metcalf. Now he has a Calvin Austin, a Robert Woods. He has a trifecta of receivers out there that he can distribute the ball out to, because last year, everybody talks about just his second half of the season. Well, it wasn't just about when Devontae Adams got there. Prior to that, he was throwing the ball to Garrett Wilson, who was trying to get his legs underneath him like Bambi, and then Devontae Adams comes on, and they start getting in sync. He has a trifecta of receivers. He has a solid O-line, has a solid defense. This is what Pittsburgh needs to get the job done. We all knew it was going to be happening, but now it's official.
Oh. Well, I just don't know if the Steelers are going to change the entire offense for Rodgers, right? He wants to have complete control, so I just don't know. It's hard for me to root for the Steelers now, for me. Okay. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I think, David, you make a really good point, though, about changing this offense. And, Kyle, I don't know if you were charting every single game throughout the course of the season. We just ran a graphic. The more I watch the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, the more I see him in a shotgun. With Arthur Smith, there's a heavy run game. It's a lot of under center. Like, is this even a good fit? I know it's rose-colored glasses from listening to my guy Isaiah, which is a little surprising here. But, Kyle, you buying this fit?
Listen, we could just copy and paste this conversation when he joined the Jets, and we were all hyping their wide receivers and their running back, and we were so thrilled about the weapons. I like the fit. Sure, he's Rodgers. He's going to find a way to fit. I think it's interesting that I always like when people outside the football world come and talk about Rodgers, especially. So, David, you were mentioned it's hard for you to root for him. You can't root for him. Do tell us why. We love hearing this stuff.
I mean, I lived in New York for 25 years, and if I was going to root for a suffering team, it would be the New York Jets. So I saw what happened. Many of my friends are close Jets fans, and I just, listen, here's the thing. I think this year, everything is going against him. Tomlin, everything's on the line. I think they're sort of playing with house money. They have nothing to lose. So as much as I'm rooting against them, I think it might be their year, too.
Okay, so what were some of the things that you guys liked as Jets fans, that you guys liked about Aaron Rodgers, and then where did he fall short, in your opinion, as a Jets fan?
Well, first of all, there's nothing good about being a Jets fan.
Okay, there you go.
You know, there was a lot of promise. There was a lot of hope, and none of it was delivered. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of that fell on Aaron Rodgers' shoulders? Do you think just collectively with the head coaching situation and the team as it kind of collapsed, where do you think that blame, where that blame kind of lies in regards to that? Because Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron. He tore his Achilles obviously in game 1, came back the next year, and was still able to put up, really relatively good numbers for him.
Well, at some point you have to burden some of the responsibility, and that was just not the narrative that was coming out of the Jets headquarters.
Well, and look, you also got to be healthy there, and that's something that Jets fans know. They didn't get to see Aaron Rodgers except for most of last season completely healthy.